Hello, and welcome to another edition of Film Duels, the show where we get to argue some of the biggest films ever made. I am your host for the evening, Haydn Elmore. Yes, I have been on this show before in the past as a competitor, but this time I'm being graded purely as to be the judge of these episode because as I'm recording this, it is also my birthday coming up this week. So, yeah, a little happy early birthday to me. Or I'm going to be 19, so anyways, nothing about the point.
Happy birthday.
Anyway,
happy birthday.
Thank you guys. All right, so anyways, we have got some really good competitors for this film duel here. First off here, we have the host and the founder of Film Duel, Tristan.
Hey, happy to be here.
All right. Here we have another really great friend and fellow cinephile who hasn't been on the show in a while, but it's great to be back, Mr. Josh.
How's it going?
And we have a really nice introductory to Miles.
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, we're all doing very good. Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay, so we're explaining how this is going to work. For anyone who's watching and who's unfamiliar with this, yes, this is very similar to Screen Junkie movie fights, except this is better than Screen Junkie movie fights.
In every single way.
True, yes. And how this works is it's the same format as the movie fights and all, is that each of our competitors will answer about 4 questions. They'll give their opening argument, and then they'll go on to a rebuttal and then make final points, which will determine the winner for each round. This goes up for 4 rounds, and then whoever has which 2 competitors have the most points at the end will get into a speed round question, but we'll get more into that when we get to the speed round. So, all right. So, without wasting any time, boys, are you ready for the beginning of this film duel?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I sure am.
All right. So, let's begin. Round 1. Now, we did this question before within the speed round question in the last episode. If any of you guys watched that one episode. So, we're going to expand that question a little bit more on here. So last week we talked about what is the best films of 2017, and there were some truly great films that came out last year. But for every great films we had, there were truly some really bad films that many of us had to suffer last year. So, in the response to that question, what is the worst film of 2017? And Tristan, since you're the host, you're going to start first.
All right, cool. So I saw a lot of really bad movies last year. But there was one in particular that I couldn't stand and I couldn't even finish, and that was Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. The Resident Evil films, they're not very good, but at least some of them are really entertaining and have like great action scenes and stuff. But this movie had such bad editing; every single second was a cut, and like you couldn't even comprehend the story or the characters or any of the action sequences because every single like millisecond was another cut. And it was pretty much Mad Max if it was like edited by someone really drunk. I couldn't watch it, and it was pretty much a disgrace to like Mad Max Fury Road, which is a great action movie and actually has amazing action sequences. And even the action sequences here, when you can like actually see them and there's not a cut every second, like the CGI is really bad, and it looks like it's from like the 1990s from like a television show. So it was easily the worst movie for me because I could barely even watch it.
All right, that's a good opening statement. Josh, you want to go next?
I will. All right, so I'm pretty sure I'm not even the minority. I'm pretty sure I'm the popular vote when I give you guys what I think is the worst film of the year. It is a film that was targeted just for money, and you all know where I'm going with this. It was the Emoji Movie. And there was really no reason for this to be made. Sony was just trying to hop on the trend that was popular like maybe 5 years ago, and they arrived way too late to the party.
Sorry. What was that?
Like the animation is atrocious. The voice acting is terrible. The plot makes no sense. The characters are annoying as hell. And I can't believe I sat through the entire thing. I should be rewarded a medal just for doing that.
Josh, we sat through that for a rabbit chat, remember?
Yeah, but still, we watched the whole
Damn you, Tim. Okay, but all right, that was a good argument here, Josh. Miles, you want to close us off for the first half, in the first third of this question?
Yes, I'd love to. My choice for the worst movie of 2017 is going to be The Greatest Showman. This is due to the fact that there has been this major. Well, this is partly due to the fact, but there's been a major like bubble surrounding it where everyone just goes completely nutso over it, like nutso mode over it. And I have like experienced it myself, like firsthand. Like, there are people who will like die for this movie, and it's just like, all right, settle down now. The movie was glorifying this fucking terrible. Sorry, am I allowed to curse?
No, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's glorifying this terrible person who did terrible things, and people are saying that, like, Tanya Harding was a terrible person, and that movie should be scrutinized for glorifying a terrible person. But you're talking about P.T. Barnum here. You cannot make a movie that idolizes P.T. Barnum like that and makes him this like incredible person, tries to make an incredible person out of him. There have been movies that have been criticized for that. Hell, Sam Rockwell in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, is a character that has been heavily criticized throughout the entire year, and people have been giving his character so much shit. But then you get this P.T. Barnum character coming around, everyone's going nuts for this movie. And in addition to that, all the songs are absolutely terrible. They're terrible songs. It was so painful to sit through. Talk about the most trashy, just like idiosyncratic songs I've ever heard in my life. And it's just, it's not just bad to be bad. It's bad in a way that it thinks it's such an amazing movie, but it just fails on so many different levels, and it tries to bounce off La La Land's fame from last year, and how great La La Land was, and it just failed so badly, and it was just the worst experience I've ever had with the film from last year, and it was just, oh God, it was just.
All right,
it's my thing.
Some really good, interesting picks here, and now. I'm going to give you a few moments to rebuttal. Anyone's open up to argue, so go for it.
All right. Can I start? Or
yeah, anyone can start.
Yeah, sure.
Go for it.
First off, I just want to say, like, the two of you both gave really good arguments on why yours is the worst film of the year. Tristan, I also tried sitting through Resident Evil, and I couldn't even finish it. I got maybe 15 minutes in. And you were right, it is a shitty Mad Max Fury Road. And Miles, you were absolutely right about Greatest Showman, how there's a bubble around it, because everyone I've talked to who's seen it will not shut up about it and just like says it's the greatest thing ever created.
Yeah, I don't get how people like that movie.
Yeah, but why, Josh? I wonder, why is the Emoji Movie worse than the other two?
The Emoji Movie is worse than the other two because I can't believe I'm saying this. If you ask me, it felt like the other two actually had a little bit of effort put into it, especially The Greatest Showman. Because you have to give Hugh Jackman the credit for having to learn so many fucking songs that were not even based off anything. They're all brand new. In Resident Evil, he was still trying to complete a franchise. The Emoji Movie was just made for the sake of a cash grab. And it's not even worth watching. And I can't believe that people make stuff like that.
Yeah.
Also, fuck Sony.
Going off of Josh's point for The Greatest Showman, like, it's a terrible movie, but there is a market for that kind of stuff. And, like, the thing is, I don't like the pop songs that were in that, but they're catchy. Like, they're really catchy to the point where, they get stuck in your head, and there are a lot of people who kind of like that music. I don't know why. It's really bad. But, like...
Kind of like Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, there is effort
Moulin
put into
Rouge,
it.
but worse.
But the thing is, like, the Greatest Showman had some serious Moulin Rouge vibes from the trailer, at least.
Well, yeah.
It was like a discount Moulin Rouge, but like...
It's like Baz Luhrmann threw up.
Yeah, and it glorified an awful person, but at the same time, like, Hugh Jackman was really good in that movie, and he tried his best, and he tried to save it. And even
but he wasn't the best Hugh Jackman movie of the year.
No, it was not. But definitely not the best of the year. But the costume design, the production design, like some of that was actually good. So that's why I do think it is a little bit better than the movies Josh and I picked. But like going to Josh's point on the Emoji Movie, it's like the worst cash grab I've ever seen. But at the same time, there are at least like comprehensible ideas in there. Like for example, the whole journey to get to the cloud and to go through the phone and to go through all of these apps. If it was done in like a Wreck-It Ralph type style, it could have been really funny and cool.
Which they're gonna technically do that for the sequel.
Pretty much, yeah. But like some of the ideas in there were kind of cool, even though it was executed terribly. And the animation was okay. Like with Resident Evil, even though I could barely watch the Emoji Movie, I feel like Resident Evil like could actually give people strokes because like you can barely even watch it. It's just flashing lights the entire movie, pretty much.
I agree with you on that.
Is it my turn now?
Yeah.
And anyone can like
right.
in and out with their rebuttals.
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's my piece. So, the Emoji Movie and Resident Evil: The Final Chapter are just really shitty movies. Like it's like not really trying to be good movies. It's not really a sort of thing like oh yeah, you're going into it expecting like a really good movie. No, you're going into expecting it to be a Resident Evil movie. You're going into a movie that's called the Emoji Movie. Like, come on, like, are you expecting something like good? Like, it's not really like it. But with The Greatest Showman, there was at least some acknowledgeable. There was acknowledgeable like excitement surrounding it, but that only leads to people thinking that it's going to be just this great movie. But it's even worse in the long run if your movie is just trying to think it's so great, and there's so much like unbelievable unbelievable hype behind it, but then it's just like, okay, that was that, and it's just really painful to watch something like that. And honestly, if people are gonna go into Greatest Showman, people are going into Greatest Showman and loving it, and which really makes me question the future of cinema, and not on it's not on a good note either. It's on a very bad note. People are going into the Emoji Movie are just like people who are going to the Emoji Movie are annoyed parents and just quite frankly little kids who don't really know anything about movies, or you got nobody is looking to go into the Emoji Movie to what, Penny? Can you hold on? I'm doing something. God, just shut up. Anyway.
Continue with your argument.
Sorry. Let me just close my door real quick. Sorry.
Finish up what you were saying.
Anyways. Stop! Anyway.
This is going to be fun just putting this on.
Sorry. Anyway, as I was saying. So, it's just like, it really makes me question how it was still making money. And how it's even still making money in some theaters, like now.
It's making more money than La La Land.
Did it actually? What?
Okay, that's too far.
That's awful.
Bad.
Right, which supports my theory that movie is inch by inch destroying everything that cinema holds dear to it, and for it to be nominated for an Oscar is just insulting to cinema, and it's just insulting. And all around, while Resident Evil: The Final Chapter and the Emoji Movie were just bad movies, just for the sole purpose of just being bad. Like, you don't really expect Resident Evil: The Final Chapter to be good. You know, it's just like that movie is bad and it's really bad, but it's bad in like people are just gonna be like, oh yeah, that's a bad movie. But with the Greatest Showman, it's different. People are gonna go ahead thinking that it's a great movie for like 10 years, but in reality, it's just such a schlockbuster, and it's so bad, and the songs are not catchy at all. And also, Hugh Jackman was terrible in that movie. He was absolutely awful. So that is to demine your point there. And yeah, that's the end of my little spiel.
Any of you guys, like Josh and Tristan, want to come back on that?
Yeah,
I'm good.
I have one comeback. The thing is, like, yeah, you explained why The Greatest Showman is definitely like the most insulting to cinema, but at the same point, because people actually like it and like it's not artistic in any way, but at the same point, like the argument is worst movie of the year, and there isn't an
It's
audience
the worst
for this.
movie of the year, though.
Yeah,
it
but
really
Well, hold
is.
on,
You even
let
said-
Tristan continue.
Yeah, because the other two, even if you were expecting something bad, their quality is even worse than The Greatest Showman. Because
Yeah,
The Greatest,
but quality is not the same as message. The message that that it's trying to, like, sure, the quality of those movies are bad, but The Greatest Showman just submerges itself into your soul, and it's just like so painful, and it's just the message is so brutal and so uncompromising, and it's just so just evil, and it's evil to everyone, and it's just like you're celebrating this horrible person, and the songs aren't good. The filmmaking is just so subpar, and it's just so
I think
painfully.
Tristan does continue wanting to say something about you. You said a lot about Greatest Showman, but you know.
Well, I just wanted to say that it's just not it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
Miles, you've been going for like 10 minutes.
No, it's been going on for
Miles,
like
that argument.
for 17 minutes now.
I'm sorry. Just hate that movie.
No, I know, but let Tristan, I think, finish up what he was going to say.
That rant was so great, but yeah, I think there is an audience for The Greatest Showman, and even though like we don't like it and it's not
Most
a
of the
good
cinephile
film.
community doesn't really like it.
Pardon?
Most of the cinephile community.
Yeah, most of the cinephile community, but like I feel like if you put regular audiences our age, like if you gave them the choice of seeing any of these three movies, they'd easily pick The Greatest Showman because there is an entertainment value to it, and there are good, well, not good songs, but catchy songs that people our age like, and there's at least something to grasp onto. Well, the other two movies don't have anything. And with the Emoji Movie, it's a terrible movie, but like even kids could enjoy it. They'd have to be really young, but like
And dumb.
yeah, pretty much, but they could enjoy parts of it. While Resident Evil is unwatchable and it can cause like seizures and stuff.
I really didn't win this.
Can I say one more thing? Sorry.
Okay, I've heard enough from you guys. I think specifically with hold on, but I just want to get one last final points from all of you. So
can I just say one more thing?
Hold on, Miles, you said a lot. Let's get Josh because I haven't heard too much on this. So final point for Josh.
There's really nothing else I can really say about Emoji Movie besides it's a needless cash grab, and it's the fact that Sony's making movies like a fucking fidget spinner and eggplant movie. It's just the fact that stuff like that is happening is like it's like what Miles said. It's insulting to cinema, and like we're going downhill from here. Like there's no coming back.
Like why is it? But why is it like where the other two films are not as good as the Emoji Movie? Just that point.
Because at least like a small portion of Resident Evil was a bit watchable, but Greatest Showman I haven't seen, so I can't really argue.
Okay. That's a good Bell here. Tristan, we're gonna give you one last final point.
All right, cool. Yeah. So as I was saying before, all three of these are terrible movies, but there is a market for the other two, and even if you did like the previous Resident Evil movies, this one doesn't even live up to those because the visual effects aren't nearly as good and the editing is just atrocious.
Okay, and Miles, one last point.
All right. Again, the Emoji Movie is absolutely terrible, and I agree with you, Josh, on every point you make about it. It's just like absolutely awful. But for every movie, there's a specific audience, and goes for for Resident Evil 2. There's a specific audience for every single movie that comes out, and it doesn't, and it's not always a good thing, but it's definitely something that happens. The audience wants to go sometimes to a Resident Evil movie because they want to see a Resident Evil movie. I would even know because their taste might be terrible, but they just want to see a Resident Evil movie. They're not.
Just tell that to like half of the Letterboxd community.
Yeah, right, exactly. But with The Greatest Showman, that just gained such a wide variety of audiences, and it's just people are just so. It's just insulting to see so many people open-eyed to that movie, and oh god.
Okay, I clearly think I have a winner here. Okay, you guys all picked really good arguments. I haven't seen Greatest Showman or Resident Evil. So the only one I've seen is the Emoji Movie. But okay, Josh, I'm sorry you're kind of out on this round because, well, I do definitely agree with a lot of the points you made that it's like a cash grab film, and it definitely it's insulting to cinema. I do sort of agree with the other two films. I think they really knocked you out because there is a specific audience for films like the Emoji Movie, and like kids. Like many kids are pretty impressionable. They'll go out and see anything, even if it's garbage. I mean, we're all guilty of this. So,
Sure.
So I mean, even though you made some good arguments, you're kind of out in this round. So for me, it was between Tristan and Miles. Um, Tristan, you made some really good arguments about why the Resident Evil films are like, okay, it's not as good. Even you compare it to the other ones, it's like, oh, it's not as good as say the other Resident Evil films. Like the final chapter wasn't good. I mean, I haven't seen the final chapter or any of the Resident Evil films, so I can't fully judge it. And even though you did tact relatively good on The Greatest Showman, and you talked about about the audience and how it's impactful, but Miles, on the other hand, brought a really strong and passionate argument about he went really to specific of why he thought the film was a failure. He didn't thought that the film why it was almost insulting to cinema. He thought that why it didn't work as a wide release, and also considering the fact that the film made more money than La La Land, which was almost an insult for me, and plus his argument and his passion was more prominent. So I'm going to give this round to Miles. But that was a really good round for all you guys. So Miles, you won the first round.
Thank you very much. All of your arguments were absolutely astounding. So
yeah, you guys all made some really good arguments.
Miles, that rant was amazing, and now I hate that movie even more.
Yeah, I might actually somewhat consider watching it just to see how bad it is. But the thing is, my family really wanted to watch it, so
it's so horrible.
I'm like,
oh, so horrible watching
it. All right. Enough. Yeah, let's get on to the next question. So, the Oscars just came around, and the big winner of the night was The Shape of Water for Best Picture. Yay! I mean, to be honest, I'll say this: I was a little disappointed that Lady Bird didn't win anything, but at the same time, I'm so happy for Guillermo del Toro and his team crafting such a beautiful and genuine masterpiece. It's also in my top 3 of the year, so I'm pretty happy with that. So, in honor of Shape of Water winning Best Picture, the question I have for you on the table is, what is the best Picture winner from this current decade? That means from 2010 to the present. And Josh, we're going to start with you this round.
Yeah, anyway, my pick for the best picture winner of this decade is actually the most recent one, Shape of Water. I was gonna originally go with Birdman, but I changed my mind last minute. And the reason why I chose Shape of Water is because, when was the last time we've seen a genre film win Best Picture? Honestly, think about that.
Lord of the Rings: Return of the King.
Okay, but that was 10, 15 years ago. So. Yeah. And the Academy actually nominating stuff like this and Get Out really shows they're paying attention to cinema. Well, that was fucking dumb because they do, but still. But Shape of Water is just such a beautiful and elegant film. I don't see any way how one could possibly hate it. And It's all about like how one is so incomplete in life and how they can't follow their dreams or be who they want to be. And like it's people who just see it as a fish fucking movie. They
Fish
just
banging
people
movie,
know,
as they like.
people don't know what they're getting into because Guillermo del Toro crafted what is maybe my favorite work of his besides Pan's Labyrinth, and like it's amazing. Sally Hawkins doesn't even say a word. Well, spoiler alert, she does in one scene, but it's just she gives such a raw and realistic performance. Same goes for Richard Jenkins and Michael Shannon and Doug Jones as the creature, and like it all winds together in such a beautiful ending. And it's like the aesthetics are gorgeous, and yeah, I think that's why it's the best picture winner of the decade.
All right, that's a good argument from Josh here. Miles, you want to go next?
Me?
Yeah.
All right. I'm picking Moonlight. This is because Moonlight is one of the most important films I feel of the past 8 years. It's been critically lauded. Everything about it is just so beautiful, and everything is just so. It's been so talked about. It's been talked about, and it's just a tour de force from director Barry Jenkins. But I feel it's the most prominent and important Best Picture winner because it really demonstrated a step forward for the Oscars and really delivered on its promise of it being of the Oscars becoming more and more progressive. And as the Oscars are becoming more progressive, we're gonna see more films like The Shape of Water win Best Picture, and more films that are more open and more not, I wouldn't say controversial, but I would say uh, not controversial, but just unique films, just more films that are willing to push the boundaries of love and push the boundaries of how people treat each other and how people act towards each other. And Moonlight was really, I feel, the gateway into everything, into actually the Shape of Water winning Best Picture. It was the film that changed the Academy's viewpoints on awarding a film Best Picture. If they would have awarded uh, La La Land Best Picture, then it wouldn't have been the same, because if La La Land is just an ode to Hollywood, and that's actually kind of the same as Shape of Water too.
Hold on, we're not doing the rebuttals yet. We're not.
Oh, sorry. But
you can use that for the rebuttals, though.
Yes, but Moonlight is just a beautiful parable, and it's just a film that deserves to be seen, and it's just one of the most beautiful films of the past 8 years, and a major turning point for the direction that the Oscars are heading in.
All right, that's a good argument from Miles. And Tristan, why don't you finish this off?
All right, so I'm going with the King's Speech. No, I'm joking.
I actually,
I was about to say.
I watched that recently.
I really like it. It's just I'm not
not
thinking
the
that.
best picture.
Yeah, definitely not. All right, so you guys both picked amazing movies, and I feel like all three of our picks are like the most unique movies that won Best Picture and are really pushing the boundaries and making the Oscars into something that they should be, a celebration of all film. So the one I picked actually beat my favorite movie of all time, Boyhood, so it has to be really good. I'm picking Birdman. This movie just really blew me away because there's nothing like it. It's one of the most unique and experimental and different films I've ever seen, and it's centered from in a career-defining performance by Michael Keaton, who just is incredible in this role. And while it might not be as important as Moonlight and some of the other films, it really is a celebration of film in one of the most, and a celebration of theater in like one of the most unique ways I've ever seen. It's a commentary on performances and stardom and Hollywood, and how it's all a facade, and it's got so much depth to it that I feel a lot of other movies don't. I mean, all these movies are really deep, but Birdman just has so much depth to it and explores different topics that I haven't seen explored in that way ever before.
All right, these are all really great picks. So you guys all picked terrific films for arguments. And the ironic things before we get to rebuttals is that all your films are my top 3 Best Picture winners of this decade. Like,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Alright,
these three are like,
It's a bit tight, then.
Yeah, but these are all really good picks. So,
Yeah.
well, I mean, whoever's going to start a rebuttal, go for it.
Okay, I can go for it.
All right, Miles, go for it.
All right, so all these movies, by the way, Moonlight, Shape of Water, and Birdman are some of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen, and really are phenomenal. Like, they do deserve the acclaim that they are getting.
I agree.
But here's the thing with Moonlight. Moonlight is different from the two of them for the sole purpose that it is just completely it's just not genre bending, but completely twisting the boundaries of cinema. It's really it's really influencing the Oscars in a way. And if you're talking about the most innovative film, then I feel like that would go to Birdman. But we're talking about the most culturally significant and important and just flat out exceptional film that is just culturally important in a way that this side of cinema is not rarely seen, and this side of cinema deserves more attention and love. The there's a whole lost culture, and there's an idea that is going around the Oscars where there are demographics of people who aren't being recognized for their work, and what Barry Jenkins has created is just so it's beautiful from a cultural standpoint and an artistic standpoint, both standpoints, with performances and everything, and just it's so symbolically rich and full of symbolism that you absolutely just cannot you cannot not recognize that Moonlight is just the film that really changed the Academy's viewpoints, and and honestly, without Moonlight, the Academy wouldn't have recognized a film like The Shape of Water.
First of all, just as a rebuttal, Miles, I think one of the sole reasons why Moonlight won Best Picture was because by far it was the most loved film by the critics from 2016, not La La Land, because Moonlight didn't have like a 99 or 98 on Rotten Tomatoes or some shit like that, and like everyone I knew wanted to shut up about it and keep calling it a masterpiece. Personally, I don't think it is. I still think it's a good film. I wouldn't say it's impactful. I wouldn't say it's beautiful, but it is a good-looking movie, and its message is very clear. But I think the reason why Shape of Water is the best one is because its message is actually about something that most people go through in daily life. Like, they don't feel complete. They need to have something in their lives to keep them going, and some of them don't have that at all. And Birdman, yeah, Miles, I think I agree with you there. It's all about how visually innovative it is, than besides message and themes. Yeah, that's what I have.
okay, here's the thing. These are all amazing movies, but just to go off of Miles' argument, we're not really discussing the most culturally significant film of the year. It's the best one. And while these are probably the 3 best picture winners of the decade, for me, I think Birdman just bended. It didn't. It might not have shaped the Oscars in the way that the other 2 did, because the other 2 were just very different films to win Best Picture. But when we're talking about its influence on cinema, I feel like Birdman really did bend genres, and it really did introduced very innovative ways of like cinematography and technical aspects. For example, the whole movie was in one shot, and it was so well done.
Or at least made it look like it was done in one shot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
pretty
wasn't
much.
done in one
It wasn't
shot.
done in, yeah, that would be
Like
way too
Victoria or something.
But
was done.
Victoria was actually done in one shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looked like it was done in one shot, and there were some crazy, incredible visual effects in it. And I feel like it's the most challenging film out of them all. It doesn't answer any questions, and there's so much meaning that you can take from it and apply it to different issues. And while the other two have a very clear message, I feel like this one's a little bit more open and more ambiguous, which it might make it a little less accessible, but there is so much meaning in it, and every shot, every scene, every piece of dialogue has meaning. And also, it's really funny too. Even though it's dark and it's a commentary on Hollywood, there is a lot of really great comedy in there that I know it doesn't make it the best movie, but it makes it really, really entertaining. So, yeah, that's my argument.
All right, that's a good argument. These are really good choices. So I'm gonna get one last points from everyone. So Miles, will go with you since you said a lot about Moonlight.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I love all these. I love all these picks. I love Birdman almost as much as I love Shape of Water, almost as much as I love Moonlight. But Birdman is Moonlight is also left very ambiguous. Or scenes there's the structure of the film is very non-linear. It goes from place to place in this kid's life, which is, and it's very exploitative of this kid and his life, and the message and theme is left up to the image and the interpretation of the cinema. So I don't think it's a movie that is. It's a nice blend of cinema and its respective themes. Whereas with The Shape of Water, was more of a pat on the back to Hollywood, which I appreciate. But there was a lot of patting, quote unquote, patting on the back to Hollywood in The Shape of Water, whereas Moonlight was just a completely different story than we've seen before, and politics and culture cannot be excluded from this discussion because Moonlight really focused on this demographic that has never been really has in the past, but not this big and not this mainstream. You know, you've had Melvin Van Peebles and you've had Charles Burnett, but you've never really had this power towards mainstream audiences in the cinema ever, quite frankly. And Birdman is such an innovative film, but it doesn't really have much more to say other than that and its suggestive themes and messages, whereas Moonlight is just a giant mammoth of a film. It is a film that completely annihilates everything in its path and is the ultimate Best Picture winner of the century.
He said make up another point, not another rebuttal.
Sorry.
Okay, so
I had to say that.
all right, Josh, final point.
Miles, I don't think Moonlight, like how you said, it's not non-linear at all. It goes into straightforward narrative from child, teenager, adult. And I wouldn't say it's a mammoth of a movie or extremely impactful, like I already stated, because I didn't really see how it did anything for the future of the Academy or for filmmaking. And Birdman is a good movie too. Like they both are, but Birdman is just all about, and the commentary is there, but it's not. It kind of feels in your face a little bit two times, but it's not really that a problem for me. But Shape of Water is just such a good throwback to golden age Hollywood and how everything used to be and like what the world was like back then. And it's so beautiful and put together so well that I don't think anything else could have deserved Best Picture.
All right. Tristan, final point.
All right, I'm gonna try and you know
You got
attack
you
these
got
two
time.
movies.
You got time.
Okay, so Shape of Water, amazing movie, but I feel like we have seen some of it done before. Not maybe in the way that they did it because it was very cinematic, but it does feel like your typical fantasy film. And one criticism I have of it is I felt the villain was very one note. While I feel Birdman and Moonlight are a lot, they're more different and they're giving you something you've never ever seen before. While Shape of Water, we have seen that before, just not on the scale that Del Toro gave it to us. Um, and the thing with Birdman, I feel like it just bent cinema, and the fact that the Oscars were able to recognize, like usually with films like this, a lot of people dismiss them because they're too experimental. But this one was able to reach a wide audience while giving us something we've never seen before in a way we've never seen it before. It's experimental, but it's also deep and it's resonant and it I feel more than any of the other movies, if someone saw this who was just starting to get into film, this is the type of movie that would inspire them to go and make films because it shows them that there are so many ways you can make films. And even if you've seen a story, like if you're taking a story that has been done before, you can do it in a totally different way. And I feel this one is just, it's a celebration of film, and it just really inspires people to want to make film.
All right, that's a really good argument. You guys all made some really good arguments. Josh, I love your argument. Many very strong opening arguments for The Shape of Water. How it was a film that was unique, and it was a film that brought so much craft to the table with Del Toro. And I also love your point about Sally Hawkins and her performance, which, again, she was my personal pick of the best performance of the year. But we're obviously not arguing that. We're here arguing about the best picture winner. You brought a good argument, but I do agree with Miles and Tristan that Shape of Water was definitely, well, I love it, but it's definitely a film that we have seen sort of in the way before, not in the way, obviously not in the way that Del Toro did it. And I didn't see you much like come back, like you talked a little bit, but it wasn't like effective enough. So you're kind of out on this one. So for me, it was between Miles and Tristan once again. Miles, you definitely brought a lot of great points about how Moonlight's win was impactful, not just the Oscars, but just in mainstream cinema. And you talked about its cultural importance and its impact upon the viewer. But I think Tristan's final point about Birdman is what I think brought it home for me, is that his point with Birdman, how Birdman was proven to be not only be experimental film and having a film that just bends into cinema, but also a film in a way that inspires so much within people who want to go into the experiencing a film, and how it impacted, with its style and its techniques and how they make them create their own films. And Tristan definitely gave a lot of great points about Birdman. So at the end of the day, I'm going to give it to Tristan for this round. But that was a really good win for all you. Just Tristan's that final point, and his final points just brought it home for me. Oh, I'm going to get something to eat. I'm hungry. I haven't ate something in a while.
Good job, Tristan.
Thanks, Miles.
Good job.
Oh, you guys gave like amazing. I did not think I was gonna win that. I thought I was gonna be one of you two.
I thought Miles was gonna win again.
Yeah, I thought Miles was gonna win. But like The Shape of Water, it's like everything I said about The Shape of Water. I don't actually believe that. I was just doing it for the fight. It's so good.
I believe some of it, but The Shape of Water is an amazing movie.
Yeah, and actually, I think both of them are probably better than Birdman, to be honest.
Well, Birdman.
It's amazing too.
If I'm being honest, Birdman is my favorite Best Picture winner of the decade. I just didn't choose it because I thought I could argue with Shape of Water better.
Mine is actually Moonlight, but I thought I could argue with Birdman better.
Yours was Moonlight?
Yeah, my favorite.
I see no one talking about 12 Years a Slave up in this piece.
Mine probably would be 12 Years a Slave, but I haven't seen it, so.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but
Totally
from what I've
understood
seen,
it's not that good. It's not that great.
Okay, boys, I am back once again.
actually,
Sorry.
I was debating going with Spotlight because I love that movie, but like it's
Okay,
nowhere
no.
near.
Okay. All right, we're not here arguing about Spotlight. All right, so next question, round 3. Now,
And Argo is really bad too. I'm not gonna lie.
I actually like. I've seen almost every of the Best Picture nominees, with the exception of The Artist.
Yeah, let's
Oh.
get back to the battle.
Artist is pretty
okay.
good, but
Artist is
like
pretty good.
against like
Sorry.
Hugo and like
Tree of Life.
and like
Yeah, let's get to the
Zenda's-
argument.
All right, let's get on to round 3. Sorry, we're getting off topic on this one.
We got a tired Josh on the line here.
All right. So the question here, next question is that now we all have those actors or actresses that every time we see them on screen, they're always a pleasure to enjoy. Whether it's like Ryan Gosling or Tom Hanks or Greta Gerwig or John Goodman or Sam Rockwell, just to name a few great examples of actors that we always have a pleasure seeing. It's always delighted us every time we see them. But for every actor that we love, there's always those actors who are like, ugh, not them again. So the question on the table is, what actor or actress that we're sick of seeing? And Miles, you're gonna go first.
When did Tristan go first?
No, I went first.
Tristan went first for the first round. So.
Oh yeah, right.
And then, well, he'll go first again in the next round.
All right. I'm gonna go with the indomitable, incompromisable, and dare I say, ugly Amy Schumer.
Oh dang! Wait. Oh, okay. I think I got the question wrong. Shoot, I'm gonna lose this.
No. It's fine. It's fine.
With the release of her June 2018 film, I Feel Pretty, quote unquote, she is just disgusting. She is disgusting, and I've never had such contempt for an actress in my life. Whenever I see her face on a poster or on an image or on a comedy special, I always want to gag and regurgitate. You know why? Because it's fucking Amy Schumer. Her only little gimmick is, oh, hi, girls are fat, and I'm fat, and I want to make myself look pretty, and I want to just talk about my sex for 2 hours. I just want to talk about my virginity, how I lost my virginity, and how you're all just
Wait,
so.
Amy Schumer is not a virgin?
Exactly. Well, she gradually decomposes, and fuck it. That's all I can say about Amy Schumer, man. She's just awful individual. Yeah, honestly, like
That's a great opening argument.
she's awful.
Tristan, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. All right, so I picked an actress who was actually really good at the start and who I loved seeing in movies. I'm talking about Jennifer Lawrence. She gave great performances in movies like Winter's Bone, Silver Linings Playbook, and American Hustle. And,
Don't forget Hunger Games.
She was even good in like some blockbuster movies such as Hunger Games, but
And that's been First Class and Days of Future Past.
yeah, but recently, I think ever since X-Men Apocalypse, she's been on this rapid downhill slope. X-Men Apocalypse was not a good movie, and one of the reasons is because we just saw too much of Jennifer Lawrence. Then we saw Passengers, which was one of the most boring, stale sci-fi movies I've ever seen, and it was because she had no chemistry with Chris Pratt. And then she decided to go on this weird experimental, like, mainstream, like she's trying to bring experimental movies to the mainstream, which is fine, but the way she's doing it is so obnoxious, and it's getting an F on Cinema Score, and I do not blame Cinema Score for this, and usually I always blame Cinema Score. Like, Mother was one of the most obnoxious pieces of crap I've ever seen, and then Red Sparrow. Yeah, Red Sparrow was even worse, and one of the reasons is because she claims to be this super feminist who is, promoting all these issues that are going on, and then she comes with like Mother and Red Sparrow, and she's just showing like gratuitous torture sequences, and she's like getting naked for the camera for no apparent reason, and like it's annoying at this point. So yeah, that's why I picked Jennifer Lawrence.
I'll also give Jennifer Lawrence like the only reason she stopped Phantom Thread for like 3 minutes. He's like, "Oh, I didn't like that movie."
That's the dumbest thing. I hate Jennifer Lawrence as much as you do.
We all hear that one point about I actually had a crush on Jennifer Lawrence for like a while, but then after a while I just lost it.
Oh yeah, she was great at the start.
Yeah. All right, but
She's
Josh,
questionable in the Silver Linings Playbook.
I actually Silver Linings Playbook was, in my opinion, her only great performance. I haven't seen American Hustle, so I can't judge.
I heard Winter's Bone is really good, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. All right.
That's the only movie she should win. She should have won for probably.
What?
Right. Winter's Bone.
But you had like Natalie Portman and Jack and Black Swan.
Yeah, that was crazy good.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
Forget I said that.
Yeah, forget you said it. All right, Josh, we're gonna close up the first round. The first half.
All right, so I'm pretty sure I may have a 50-50. Like, you guys may or may not agree with me on this one, but there was an actor who, like, back in the 90s was actually really good at a bunch of stuff and people really liking him. Same with the 2000s, but after, I think, 2007 probably, he's been kind of going downhill and hasn't really given a good performance recently, and I'm talking about Johnny Depp. Now, don't get me wrong, Black Mask was a really good performance. I do believe he should have been given an Oscar nom for that. But besides that, ever since Pirates of the Caribbean World's End, he's been given these bland, unmemorable performances, and I want to see like another Ed Wood again. I really want to see him delve deep into a character that's like so enjoyable and so interesting that I just fall in love with him again, and I haven't done that in such a long time that I'm honestly disappointed. And the guy, like, another thing that's just a nitpick about him, I don't think that guy knows how to talk at all. Because have you heard him speak? Jesus fucking Christ. And yeah, I know he's now on like stuff like Harry Potter, but he's now just giving out more shitty Jack Sparrow roles that I can't speak tonight. And films like Dark Shadows and all that isn't that good. And I just really want to see another Edward or Edward Scissorhands again, just so I can get another really good performance out of him, like Black Mass.
All right, those are all really good picks here. I mean, many of these I can definitely agree upon. And whoever wants to open up for rebuttal.
All right, first of all, I agree with all of you guys. Jennifer Lawrence got worse and worse words with each year, and Amy Schumer just, no, we don't need to discuss her anymore.
Yes.
Miles and Tristan, go ahead.
You have anything to like say why Jennifer Lawrence and Amy Schumer are not as bad as say Johnny Depp?
The only thing I honestly can't. I can't say why Jennifer Lawrence is better, and I definitely can't say why Amy Schumer is better than Johnny Depp, because I get fucking slaughtered for that probably.
No, not really. Maybe. I don't know. But whoever wants to go next, go for it.
I can.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the thing. Amy Schumer can just go die. Like, I never want to see her face again as long as I live. Her face it's just like, what she does is worse. At least Johnny Depp and what
Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence. At least those two. At least those two have some merit to their name. At least those two have good performances in their filmography. At least they are competent people. Like, okay, Jennifer Lawrence is not really too competent, but at least she has some good credits. At least she's a decent actress. She's not terrible, but she's decent, and she's not a nuisance. And she's not like Amy Schumer level bad. Amy Schumer was just born bad. Like, you want to get rid of her. You never want to see her face again. It's just, everything about her is just so disgusting. She's in too many things. She's doing too much, and all of her stuff that she's producing is just, quite frankly, disgusting. And it's something that nobody on this earth would want to see. And Johnny Depp, who I agree with your argument on. I agree with both your arguments, by the way. But Johnny Depp is like, I mean, He's also had some great performances to his name. If we're talking about like the worst actor or worst actress, Amy Schumer, man, like she's been attached to nothing but filth in her career. Like seriously, filth is what it is. Her new movie, I Feel Pretty, looks like it's going to be the worst of the year, and I'm calling it.
Definitely, it's gonna be.
I'm calling it
top 10 worst of the year for sure.
Yeah, probably number one.
I'm gonna call it number one.
Yeah, just call it number one for now.
We need to rabbit that, guys. That would be so good.
All right, Tristan, go for it.
All right. Oh wait, did you have more to say, Miles?
Oh no.
Okay, go for it, Tristan.
Yeah. So out of these, I mean, if you're talking about the worst quality, yeah, Amy Schumer for sure, because she hasn't had anything good that's come out. And I mean, other than if you like Trainwreck, which I know some people do, I don't know why.
I like Trainwreck.
Yeah, I don't know.
Trainwreck.
that was terrible.
But
that's true. Except for John Cena.
Yeah, but the thing is, we're talking when it comes to like the hardest to avoid and the most overexposed. I'd say it's Lawrence, because the thing is, Johnny Depp's at the end of his career, and he's really, I mean, not the end, but he is in the later half, and he really isn't the star of too many movies anymore, so it's easier to avoid him. He's in the Alice in Wonderland movies, and he's now going to be a supporting character in Harry Potter, and he's in the Pirates of the Caribbean films. But Amy Schumer, she's only in a few select comedies and some comedy specials on Netflix. But Jennifer Lawrence is literally in every single movie. Doesn't matter the genre. She's in everything. And even if you don't go and see her movies and you try to avoid her, she's always on E-Talk and on CNN and on literally every single entertainment show and magazine, and she's so overexposed. And like, even as a person, she's just so annoying, because she's trying to promote all these great causes, and that's good, but she contradicts herself and goes in these movies and that are like totally misogynistic, like Mother and Red Sparrow especially. And I don't know, she's just a mess. Yet
she calls Phantom Thread a terrible movie.
I know, and she's so rude. She's like terrible, and if someone says one thing or does one thing out of line that she doesn't remotely believe in, she'll attack them, when what she's doing is equally as terrible. She's starring in these awful movies that are literally against feminism, when she calls herself this big feminist.
Yeah, you can compare it to Boogie Nights. The Rise and Fall of Dirk Diggler. The Rise and Fall of Jennifer Lawrence.
Just have the Jennifer Lawrence documentary just be Boogie Nights.
Directed by Paul Thomas.
Directing it, and actually Jennifer Lawrence gets
directed. No, Paul Thomas.
Exactly like Boogie Nights. I'm not gonna lie.
Paul Thomas.
She got all the fame too early in her career.
Pretty much.
Wait, what'd you say about
he's too good to direct a movie about Jennifer Lawrence. Let's get Paul W.S. Anderson.
Oh yes,
Fuck yes.
Yes, let's get there. Or Tommy Wiseau.
Yes. Oh, I mean, Tommy Wiseau, he's on a league of his own. He's the best.
Yeah, he's more credibility than any of the actors.
We're getting off track.
All right, we're getting a little bit off track here, but I mean, has Josh said anything about? Oh, I think Josh says some stuff about her.
Yeah, he said a lot about it.
He hasn't said anything. So I'm just gonna get one last. Okay, these are all really good picks here. These are all like actors that most people definitely am like, ugh. So just one last point from every one of you here. Whoever wants to go, just go for it.
All right, I guess. Oh,
yeah.
You can go.
Oh, okay. Amy Schumer. She's just so awful. It's just everything. It's just like, and she's been on magazine covers too. But it's just, God.
She even wrote a book.
She even wrote a book about herself. It's just like the thing that she wants to prioritize in her work is so annoying and so self-centered and just honestly misogynistic. Not gonna lie, everything about her is disgusting. That's all.
Okay, Tristan, final point.
You know what's
Miles
funny
out.
about this? All three of these are like super misogynistic because even Johnny Depp has been accused of like beating his wife and stuff too.
Yeah, he's awful.
So
Yep.
yeah, all three of these are awful. But the thing is, Amy Schumer and Johnny Depp have proved that they're really awful people, and that there's not really a big fan base. Like they don't really have fan bases anymore because even people who were huge fans of Johnny Depp, they don't even really watch his movies anymore unless they're like Pirates of the Caribbean fanboys because he just really faded and he gave some terrible performances. But Jennifer Lawrence is still in everything, and her career, it's not done. It's at its peak right now, and she just keeps rising and churning out crap. And she's not only annoying on screen, she's annoying off screen as well.
Can't blame you for that.
No, I can't believe you. Also, I want to add what your point is that almost like I want the Tristan making a point about like how Jennifer Lawrence is a hypocritical feminist. Like that can also be the same for Amy Schumer because
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's true.
she tries to prove that she's like all this big feminist.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Then-
She's such a
But then
hypocritical feminist.
still makes jokes about her having sex.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're all really terrible.
Okay, Josh, one last point for you.
I honestly got nothing. I think this should go to Miles.
Yeah.
Well, maybe because I don't know. Josh, I'm sorry. Again, you're out on this round, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You really should. I think
This is not my night.
I know. It's okay. It's okay. But so again, Miles and Tristan are really killing it this film. Amy Schumer, you definitely brought a lot more funny. You definitely brought a lot more credibility to your performance, and you said a lot of things that I instantly agree with. But I also agree a lot with Tristan on this point. Is that with Johnny Depp and Amy Schumer definitely are kind of aware they're being awful people, even if there's not much big fan base for not Jennifer Lawrence, for Amy Schumer and Johnny Depp. There isn't much. They are kind of hypocritical. And even though Miles, you argued a lot that Johnny Depp and Jennifer Lawrence has credibility for actors, and Amy Schumer doesn't. But I think if we're talking about the film that we're getting the sick of the most, the one who has appeared more often in other films and appeared so many on TV news and award shows and just everything about it, you're just like, and it makes me even cringe more. I'm gonna go with Tristan on this one. I'm gonna go with because I think also Tristan made some also much more stronger arguments towards why Jennifer Lawrence was more annoying, why she was more a hypocritical bitch than the other ones.
Good. Honestly, I hate Jennifer Lawrence more than fucking Amy Schumer now.
Yeah, but that
I
was
hate both of them.
we all. I hate him too. Johnny Depp I can sort of tolerate, but the other two.
I just hate Jennifer Lawrence is such a bitch. I'm
She
sorry.
is.
Yeah, all right, okay.
They're all awful though.
They're all off.
They're
Johnny
those.
Depp is probably the least one that's like I could like the least bad. Probably have all.
I feel like those were probably the three like best choices. I can't think of anything that would be as good as those three choices.
No. Unless there was someone who took a big surprise one, like
Tiffany Haddish. No,
Emily Cumberbatch, or maybe a really talented actor that appears everywhere, like Saoirse Ronan. But
yeah, but how can you get sick of
why?
Saoirse Ronan?
no, I love Saoirse Ronan. Okay, God love those Irish people. Okay, so round 4. So since we already kind of talked about the Paul Thomas Anderson and Paul W.S. Anderson on this film duel, one Anderson we haven't gotten to talk about is Wes Anderson. And Isle of Dogs is coming out in about a few weeks, which I think we're all excited to see.
Oh yeah.
We're all very excited. So, in honor of its release, what is the question I have this question for round 4? What is the best Wes Anderson film? And Tristan, we're going to start with you again.
All right, cool. This one was really difficult for me because Wes Anderson is actually my favorite director of all time, and I've seen his movies each at least once, most of them 2 or 3 or 4 times. Um, but the one that touched me the most, and the one that I keep coming back to, and the one I feel has the most style and just is the most Wes Anderson-y, I guess that's how
I was going to say something like Wes Anderson.
Yeah, uh, that would have to be the Royal Tenenbaums. I love this movie for so many different reasons. One of the reasons is that it's super influential and it kind of created this new subgenre for like quirky, dysfunctional family movies, and we got some great ones with the Meyerowitz stories. It really did. The Squid and the Whale is one. Little Miss Sunshine. Just some great indie directors were very inspired by this movie, and you can tell with their work. This is the one that really propelled Wes Anderson and kind of gave him the name that we know today as one of the most stylish directors ever. He really established his style in this movie, and the characters are great. There's so much depth. The humor is on point, but at the same time, there is a lot of drama and a lot of really emotional moments, and he balances that perfectly in a way that is really tough. There are scenes, there are scenes about suicide, about death, about fires, and he's still able to interweave his signature comedy into that. So it's just a perfect blend of everything. The acting is great, the style is amazing. This is where he introduced his signature slow motion song moments with that Nico song. Pardon? Oh, am I cutting out?
Listen with their mic.
Oh, rip. Sorry. Yeah. So for me, I think the Royal Tenenbaums. While all his films are, most of them are like masterpieces. I feel that one is just his crowning achievement so far.
All right. Because the mic here, whatever.
Doing that shit.
All right, that was great. You mean Tristan?
Wait,
All right, Josh,
guys,
let's go with you.
Could you guys hear me by any chance? Or?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Josh, you're
So, my pick for, honestly, I've only seen half of Wes Anderson's filmography, and I feel bad saying that. Okay, who's doing that? That's getting annoying. No one's doing anything, Josh. Does no one hear the static?
I do, yeah.
I hear like.
I'm not doing that. Where's that coming from?
Miles, I think it's you. Your mic. Yeah, it's Miles. I just muted him, and then the static stopped.
Okay.
So I chose okay, I can't speak until that's gone for real.
Or you could just mute him. That works too. I did that.
I'm muting my. I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? I'm just laying in my bed. All right. I chose for my favorite Wes Anderson film, Fantastic Mr. Fox. Now I chose it for a number of reasons. Out of the Wes Anderson films I've seen, this one, in my opinion, is the most rewatchable. It's the most enjoyable. It's the most energetic. It's the most well written. Because if I'm correct, is this his only film that's based on a book or no?
I believe so.
If so, then yeah. And also, I think this is George Clooney at one of his finest roles, staying with Meryl Streep. Jason Schwartzman is really good here, as he always is. The animation is flawless, some of the best stop motion animation I've ever seen in my life. The story just gets better and better every time I see it. And it made me want to start saying cuss instead of an actual curse word now. And I remember watching it when it came out in theaters, and I was young, and I loved it so much. I read the book, and I don't think I can see myself loving the film even more. And it's also my favorite animated movie of all time.
Really? Yeah. But I don't blame you for that one. Okay, I'm gonna mute Miles to see if his static thing comes back in. Miles, you good?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah. We can hear you pretty well.
Okay. Tristan, you actually stole my favorite Wes Anderson movie. The Royal Tenenbaums is my favorite.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. But
that's fine.
But what's your pick, Miles? So we can close out the first third of this round.
Yeah, my pick is actually gonna be Rushmore.
I thought Wait, hold on. I thought that's not the.
I'm switching mine. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm switching mine. Yeah, Rushmore is it's just the precursor sort of to. It's where I think it's where Wes Anderson actually got his style. He really kind of picked up on his signature style. It was Bottle Rocket and then Rushmore. Bottle Rocket, he was still trying to find his voice. He was still trying to figure out who he was as an indie filmmaker. But by Rushmore, he was spot on. He really focused on his craft and everything. And by Rushmore, he perfected his craft, and that's the movie that set the bar, so to speak, for the rest of his career as a filmmaker. And it's also really energetic, as Josh said with Fantastic Mr. Fox. Really energetic film filled with awesome characters. Bill Murray is excellent in that movie. He's awesome. The best Bill Murray, Wes Anderson performance film, whatever that he's been in. Wes Anderson's direction is just stellar. Jason Schwartzman is awesome. There isn't enough good things I could say about. There aren't enough good things I could say about Rushmore, other than the fact that it just set the bar line for every single Wes Anderson film to date.
All right, that's really good arguments from all of you. These are all terrific picks. I won't say what my favorite Wes Anderson film. I'll save that one for later, just for fun's sake. But I'm gonna get to rebuttal right now.
Okay, cool.
It's happening again.
Wow, is really?
What?
Oh, okay. Never mind. All right, never. Whoever wants to start a rebuttal, go ahead.
Sure, I'll start.
All right, Tristan, go for it.
All right, so yeah, those two are great choices. I mean, pretty much all of his movies are really great. The only ones that aren't as good as the others, in my opinion, are Bottle Rocket and Darjeeling. But yeah, Rushmore and Fantastic Mr. Fox are both fantastic movies. My thing against Rushmore is that I don't think it has as much depth as, and this goes for Fantastic Mr. Fox too. I feel like both are very stylish and have great humor and wit, and they've got great style, and they really demonstrate what Wes Anderson does best. But I feel like Royal Tenenbaums not only does that, but he also brings depth to it. There's a lot of real human aspects there, and there's a lot of emotion that he displays in that film that aren't present in Rushmore or Fantastic Mr. Fox, as great as they are. And also, I think Rushmore, while it's an amazing movie, I don't know if his his style was fully established at that point, but it's still an amazing movie.
Okay, I'll go, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's open. I'm not saying who should go.
It's really actually hard for me to argue against Royal Tenenbaums, since it is one of my favorite movies, quite frankly. But I will, and Rushmore is the only one of his movies that, well, is the one film that he did really actually establish a style with Rushmore. Rushmore was the movie that the Royal Tenenbaums wouldn't have happened if it weren't for Rushmore. Rushmore was the sole basis. It wasn't as defined as the Royal Tenenbaums was, but Rushmore was the basis for it, and it was the film that really solidified. It didn't establish a style partly, but it really solidified his path in his career as an indie filmmaker. With Fantastic Mr. Fox, it's a really great. I love Fantastic Mr. Fox too. It's an awesome movie, but it isn't as significant as Rushmore was, and
even in the indie film community, like if you're talking about the indie film community of the late 1990s, Rushmore played a major part in that in that movement, in that sort of form of style. Wes Anderson made this style into his own with Rushmore, and it really did a lot for the indie film industry and the indie film movement of the late 1990s for that reason. You have Jim Jarmusch, who is a very notable indie filmmaker. You have Wes Anderson, but Wes Anderson was taking his influence partly from Jim Jarmusch, so he had Rushmore. Rushmore was basically Wes Anderson's
Opening.
Down by Law. Down by Law. You know,
Dude,
Down by Law.
one.
You know, Down by Law. Anyone? Down by
I've
Law.
seen it.
Yes.
I've never seen it, but I want to.
It's really
Yeah,
great, actually.
The Down by Law is like Jim Jarmusch's like basis for his whole like filmography.
Yeah.
Rushmore is that for Wes Anderson. I feel it's the film that really, and it goes to some places too. It isn't as innocent as I'm making it out to be. It's very rooted, and the characters stand as very unique characters, along with Royal Tenenbaums and along with Fantastic Mr. Fox. But it doesn't quite outdo them in terms of just solidifying the sense of style and the sense of being a Wes Anderson film. It is a Wes Anderson. All these movies are Wes Anderson movies, but Rushmore feels like it checks all the boxes.
Miles, I think you're going on and on again.
Josh, I'm making an argument. Can you stop doing that?
Yeah.
Sorry, but dude, it's a rebuttal, and you're making it in that.
Josh, can you shut up?
Josh, you're up. Argue why
Oh,
Royal
God.
Tenenbaum and Rushmore are as good as Fantastic Mr. Fox.
See, that's the problem. I can't argue because I haven't seen the other two.
No.
Oh,
I'm
Yeah,
proud
but
of one.
what you can do is you can like take points, like you can
Yeah,
basically
you
argue
could
why you
say
think
what
yours the best.
the other people are arguing, and then add it into your rebuttal.
Yeah.
Alright. Wait, what? I'm sorry.
You could take what they said in their arguments and add it into just say what they're saying about Rushmore or Royal Tenenbaums, and then say to why that applies to Fantastic Mr. Fox more than the other two.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know what else to say. I feel like I've said what I needed to say about Fantastic Mr. Fox. It's not that I'm tired. It's not that I don't want to talk about it. It's just, yeah, I've said everything you said. It's energetic. It's amazing. It's one of the best animated films ever made. It's beautiful. It's maybe Wes Anderson's best from what I've seen. And yeah.
But why is it not just based on the arguments that Miles and Tristan have? Why is it it's more better than Rushmore and?
I can't say why because I haven't seen them.
I know, but you can
can't make a good argument.
But why? They may not pull as depth, or as may as pull as a fluency as.
Yeah. What you could do is you can, if you haven't seen the other two, you can talk about why it's so big in as an animated film or as.
I think it's as big as
style.
an animated film because, around the time of its release, it's when Leica started coming into notion, and stop motion wasn't really as popular as it used to be because of all, Pixar and the DreamWorks on computer animations. The fact that Wes Anderson did a stop motion film and is doing one that's coming out in literally 2 weeks really shows that, stop motion is also still there and that we can make movies out of this. It just takes time and effort instead of having to make it all on a computer.
Okay, then. This was an interesting round. I mean, these are all great picks. I know, Josh, I know you haven't seen Rushmore and the Royal Tenenbaums, so that might affect a little bit more on your arguments. But I still want to get a final points from all of your competitors. So, Tristan, why don't you go?
All right, cool. Yeah, these are all amazing films, but I feel when it comes to his filmography, I think it's not only the most important because it's the film that really put him on the map as one of the best directors working today, but it's also just his most ambitious film in a way because while visually it's not as stylish as some of the stuff that has come out later, It blends all these themes perfectly in a way that no other film before that had done, and it created this whole subgenre of dysfunctional, quirky family film. I mean, not family films, but dysfunctional family movies that have influenced the career of people like, Noah Baumbach and even Greta Gerwig to a certain degree. It just really created the foundation for that quirky Sundance type film that has come after it. And while not all of them are even as close to as good as the Royal Tenenbaums, it really did define that style. Not only his own style, but a style that future directors would basically use as the foundation for their own styles.
Okay, Miles going for rebuttal.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that Rushmore was the definitive like late '90s like indie movie. Like it was. I guess it was sort of a midnight. I guess it played a major role in the late '90s indie film movement, which defined a genre. Even probably, yeah, it really did define that sort of notion of that genre and really set the standard, set the bar for every Wes Anderson film to date. It might have not been the best or my favorite Wes Anderson movie, but it sure is the film that really, I'd argue that it did put Wes Anderson on the map. Uh, Bottle Rocket definitely did not, but this did.
All right, that's a good argument from Miles. Josh, I know you had struck ground in here, but just give one last point about Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Well, I guess another thing about Fantastic Mr. Fox I forgot to mention was that its main idea of wanting to do something that you used to be good at. It's like wanting to be your younger self, what it's like to be a part of the past. And Fantastic Mr. Fox, that's what Mr. Fox is practically doing. He doesn't really understand that he needs to move on from everything, and he decides to keep doing what he's doing because he thinks that's what he's best at. And so he does this, and this results in his life nearly getting destroyed and ended, and risking his family and friends' lives. And so the fact that Wes Anderson put that into a children's animated film and still made it so enjoyable for us to watch is just insane to know.
All right, those are some really good arguments here. I mean, Josh, you definitely brought up a good final point about Fantastic Mr. Fox, but I think that could have been a good advances. It could have helped you a little bit more when you got this rebuttal, and you could have argued that against Royal Tenenbaums a little bit. So, Josh, I mean, no offense, you're kind of out on this round in general. So, I mean, and then with Rushmore, yeah, I definitely agree. Rushmore is definitely one of my favorite Wes Anderson's, like top 5 for sure. But I think, where I remember what the Nostalgia Critic said in his Moonwalker review when he said, if Thriller was the one that revolutionized the music video genre, Smooth Criminal was the one that perfected it. And that's kind of like the same thing I can say where Rushmore was the foundation for Wes Anderson's style, brought him to the table. I feel like Royal Tenenbaums definitely perfected it more and brought more of an impact within its style and within its more techniques, and that's where you really see Wes Anderson much more bring to the groove here. So for that being said, I'm going to go with Tristan on this one once again. 3 in a row for Tristan.
Hey, if I had the Royal Tenenbaums, I would have said the same exact thing.
Yeah, you probably would so. But I mean, if any of you guys are curious about what my favorite Wes Anderson film was, if I was in this argument, I would go with Moonrise Kingdom. Honestly.
Oh yeah, that's my second favorite. Actually, that's my third. But it's still in my top 50 of all time.
Yeah, I think Moonrise Kingdom's like top 15 for me, honestly.
Oh,
but,
nice. Yeah.
All right, so unfortunately, Josh, you're kind of out for the main round here, but you still get to help me out with the speed round. We're now in the speed round between Miles and Tristan. Now, what the speed round is that I'm going to be having a couple questions, say 6 max, and each fighter will give like a quick few seconds to both answer and rebuttal against the other choice, and then me and Josh will help out decide who won each question and determine the overall winner for the film duel. All right, so I'll go first with the questions so that I have a couple prepared because I'm not sure if Josh, you might have some questions to ask the audience. or the competitors. So my first question is, if you could spend an entire day with a director, who would that director be?
Wes Anderson.
Okay, Wes Anderson. Miles.
Andrei Tarkovsky.
All right. Tristan, go first.
Okay, and how many seconds do I have?
Just as long as a little bit neat, but not too long.
Okay. All right, so Wes Anderson, as we said before, has such a unique style, and I feel like as someone who really wants to get into film, I can learn so much from him, and I can learn how to create my own original, unique style. What he's done visually and thematically is unlike any other director. He's one of the most unique directors of all time, and apparently he's a really awesome dude too, so it would be cool to like hang out with him and talk to him, and he just loves film, so it would be awesome to really get to know Wes Anderson.
All right, Miles, your pick.
Andrei Tarkovsky is just a film giant. Like spending a day with him would be like spending a day with a Russian encyclopedia. I'd learn so much within that day with like fucking with like about fucking film. Like it's like he created the sense of cinema that no other director. He created his own collection, and I feel like I've learned so much. He is the greatest director of all time.
Oh, guys, we should fix
No,
that.
we got a few moments. We got a few minutes. So rebuttal against Tarkovsky.
Oh, okay.
Tristan. Oh, okay.
Wait, should we fix the echo?
Should we fix the echo?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
Because like the problem is it's showing in the recording. Hello?
We're all back here again.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, good.
So Tristan, you're still rebuttaling against Tarkovsky.
All right. So while Tarkovsky is an absolutely incredible director, his style is so hard to mimic, and he's such an innovator that it would be really difficult to learn from him because his style is so personal to him. While Wes Anderson has a very unique style as well, I feel like I could get more knowledge out of him. And I heard that that Tarkovsky wasn't the most approachable guy either.
All right. I'd argue that Wes Anderson's films are, while they certainly have an unmistakable style. Wes Anderson's Andrei Tarkovsky's films are just pure. He's the most interesting man I could ever spend a day with and learn so much from him. So many good ideas, so many great and potent filmic, just poetry. Like he is a poet. So like a poet, and Wes Anderson is just more of a current. He's an innovator, but he's more of a indie innovator. I feel like Andrei Tarkovsky is more important and just much more of an innovator in his own way. He doesn't pick up. Wes Anderson picks up on other people, whereas Andrei Tarkovsky picks up on his own thing.
All right, that's a good point here. Josh, who do you think won that round? I'll go for you, and then
I think that Miles won because he gave a good explanation on why Tarkovsky is like one of the best directors of all time and why it would be amazing to spend a day with him.
Yeah, I mean, Wes Anderson is definitely great, but I mean, I think we already kind of give too much praise for Tristan for this film Duel, so I'm going to give Miles this point.
Yeah, he definitely deserves it there. Yeah, Tarkovsky, that would be awesome to hang out with him.
That would definitely, I would totally be cool. I mean, I would definitely also, if I would pick, I would down say like Barry Jenkins.
Oh yeah, that would be a good one too.
He seems like a really cool dude. He knows a lot about film, and he seems like a really nice guy as well.
Yeah,
So
I should have said him or like Edgar Wright or something.
I'm not saying like it would be like spending time with a Russian encyclopedia, like know everything that I'd want about Russia and about like, I don't know, like his films reflect the attitude of Russia at the time. I don't know, it's just crazy. He's a crazy dude.
Okay. Josh, do you have a question you want to throw into the competitors?
Nope.
Okay, I'll give you time. So I'll give you another question. if you could fall in love with a film that would be transformed into a person, what film would that be?
Every Day.
What?
I'm not joking.
I'm not kidding. Tristan loves Every Day, and I haven't seen Every Day.
Yes, it's my 7th favorite movie of all time.
No way.
I'm
It
not
is?
joking.
He's not kidding with you.
I'm not joking. I've seen it twice already.
Can you leave this chat right now? I'll never talk to you again.
Wait,
No,
are we
no,
talking
no.
about the character in the movie that we'd love to fall in love with? Because then Every Day for sure.
Well, no, if a film transforms
my
itself to a human,
God. You
Oh, okay.
actually
and
I'm
you
still going
fall in
back.
love with it.
God, Tristan.
No, it's not my 7th of all time. I'm joking, but it's my favorite of the year for sure.
Okay, Miles, what's your pick?
Half for sure.
What?
8.5 for sure.
Okay, 8.5. Really interesting choices here. But Tristan, since you said it first, you'll go for it.
All right, I just have a question about this. This question: are we talking about like if the movie was like a human girl?
Like a human,
Pardon?
in general, as if it was a human being. We love you as a person, as a human being.
Okay.
Like a shape.
All right. So, Every Day is one of the most pure movies I've ever seen. It's just full of love. When you watch it, you feel like this is what love is, and this is what young love is supposed to be like. There's so much in it, and I feel like if Every Day was a person, they would just be an amazing, amazing person. They'd have so much knowledge, but they'd also be just someone that would be great to hang out with. And the character in the movie, Rhiannon, is literally like my dream girl. She's the best, and yeah, Every Day is the best movie, and you should all watch it.
I think Celine from the Before trilogy says hi. but
Look, I've experienced schizophrenics before, and I feel like the girl from that movie Every Day that you're describing as you're fanboying over it would be schizophrenic who would lose her mind within 10 seconds, whereas 8.5 is just all about presentation and ordeals and it would be just luscious and beautiful. And look at Claudia Cardinal. Who would want to just go on the bed with Claudia Cardinal? Like, I know I would. Honestly, I know I would. And 8.5, so elegant, so beautiful, every day. What the hell is that?
all right. I got a point to make here. While 8.5 might be a better film, we're talking about which one would be the better spouse. And 8.5 is a cold movie.
8.5 would be the better spouse. You know why?
But it's.
Let me tell you why.
no, Tristan hasn't
It's a beautiful spouse, and it's lovely, and it's elegant.
Yeah, but
Every day.
Okay, hold on. It's
Reflect on yourself, Tristan.
Yeah, but 8.5.
Tristan.
Yeah,
listen to me. You cannot argue out of this.
I'm gonna win here. Hold on. Okay, so
listen, Miles, Tristan, go.
We're talking about which one would be better as a human, and the thing is, 8.5 is a colder movie. Every Day is just a lovely movie, and the character Rhiannon, you say she's schizophrenic, she loves A unconditionally, even if A is inhabiting a different body. She loves that person unconditionally, not for their looks, but for who they are, and that's why Every Day is just, it's pure magic, and that's what love is, and that's why I wish Every Day was a person.
You should also overdose on coke before you got your first date of 10 minutes.
Yeah, but
8.5 is just no. Let me say my piece. All right. Hey, I would have called Every Day schizophrenics mania if I haven't. 8.5, beautiful, luscious lady. God damn, 8.5. 8.5 is just so full of beauty, so full of elegance. You couldn't be more wrong when he said 8.5 is a cold movie. It's nothing. It's such a warm movie. And fuzzy in Italy. I want a nice Italian girl. I want a nice Italian bitch to be my wife. Not some Angori Rice teenager bullshit. That is schizophrenic mania.
She's not schizophrenic.
Yes, schizophrenic. She falls in love with a guy that falls into every fucking. But it seems like the most stupid plot idea I've ever
She
seen.
loves
I'm
A
sorry,
unconditionally.
love that movie. That movie just seems so stupid, beyond dumb. I'm sorry. 8.5 is my pick, and it's just elegant and beautiful and everything I want in a lady.
Okay.
In a relationship.
Josh, who do you pick?
Miles.
Dang.
Yeah, Miles indeed.
Shoot.
Like, the kid's argument is so hilarious. It's like, it is tacked on every day.
Miles, when it comes online, we're gonna rabbit it.
No.
Yes.
I'll be up for that. I'll be up for that.
Yes.
No, I don't want to see every day.
Dude, you're gonna love it. It's gonna be your favorite movie
I'm
ever.
sorry.
Okay. Josh, you have a question? Like, I just want it.
No, not really, no.
Okay. I'll
Wait.
here.
Is it? What's the score? 3-3.
Yeah, 3-all for
Okay.
So I won't say it's a tiebreaker because I still have a few questions I have in mind. So this question here is So I'm gonna pick two films, and you're gonna tell me which one of these is worse: Fan Stick or Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad.
Ooh, Tristan said Suicide Squad first. So
Stick then. I mean, honestly, what could be worse than a director that's so incompetent that he left?
No. Tristan said Suicide Squad first. So.
Oh, I go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Oh, okay.
Oh, never mind.
Fan Stick, at least the first act is okay. At least you can watch it, and at least there's something you're getting out of it. Right from the get-go, you know what you're going to get with Suicide Squad. Rainbow barf. There's literally nothing to this movie. The visuals are terrible. The performances are terrible, other than Margot Robbie, but half of that's because she's Margot Robbie. And everything about it is just incomprehensible. There's nothing to it, and people were looking more forward to Suicide Squad than Fan Stick, and at least Fan Stick has some redeeming elements in the first 40 minutes.
Okay, Fan Stick for Miles.
At least you got talent involved. There's some talent involved with Suicide Squad, with the director David Ayer, who did a really great movie called Training Day. If you haven't seen it, please check it out.
It is a really good film.
But dude, fucking Fan Stick's director is so incompetent that he left the fucking project midway through. I mean, come on, that just spells incompetency right there. The movie crash landed. It's even more unwatchable than the whole of Suicide Squad because the direction is so uninspired. Because he left the fucking project. Who does that? No one does that unless your son is on crack. But that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. Unless your wife was a Nazi or was signing on to that shit, right? Unless she was going to it, right? There is no way you're walking out of that set. You're such a... Oh, God. Screw Josh Trank, man. He has no talent to his credit. It's so just...
Chronicle was good, though.
Yeah.
Chronicle sucked, too. I hated Chronicle. Everything about... Oh, God.
Okay, Tristan, rebuttal for a quick moment.
The funny part is he actually directed the best part of that movie, the first 40 minutes. And the other thing is that the fact that David Ayer directed Suicide Squad makes it even more disappointing because there was nothing to it, and it was just a piece of crap, and it looked disgusting, and it was just a glorified 2-hour-long music video.
Miles?
Okay. There was some merit to Suicide Squad. I hated Suicide Squad so much, but there was some merit with Margot Robbie, and the cast involved was fairly decent. It wasn't good, but it wasn't like terrible. The casting decisions in Fantastic Four, even the Josh Trank directed part of that movie was on par with Suicide Squad, and maybe even worse than Suicide Squad. But when Josh Trank left the project, the movie became an absolute Casino Royale 1967 disaster. It became trash. It became a Neil Breen
after that. It became a fucking Neil Breen film after that. You cannot argue against that. At least Suicide Squad stayed constant. This movie took a major nosedive when it already started off at the level that Suicide Squad started off as. So there you go.
Okay, that's a good rebuttal and for the two. Josh, who do you think you're gonna lead on to?
Once again, I honestly have to give it to Miles because he did go into much more detail of why Fantastic was a shitty film, even though I hate Suicide Squad more.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if we're talking about the film we hated more, it was Suicide Squad, but I think who made the better argument? Yeah, Miles is gonna take that round.
Dang, wait, how many questions
Give a good
are there?
argument, Tristan.
Don't get me wrong. Suicide Squad is legit personification of garbage. You know,
They're
they're both
awful.
garbage movies.
Wait, how many questions are there in the speed round?
I wrote down 3 because I thought the person who was out would help me, but it seems like Josh is not helping me out with the questions.
Oh, usually there's 6, I think, but like, how many have we gone through?
Halfway through.
Oh, okay. Okay, so there's still time for me to catch up.
Yeah, you have some time.
Okay.
Isn't this like the 4th speed question though?
Yeah, this is the
Fourth,
first
yeah,
speed round
and
question.
he
This
has.
isn't the first. This is like the 4th.
This is the 4th, yeah, and he has
We're gonna take the 4th one right now. So,
one more than
Josh,
me.
you want to have a question?
If you had to make a biopic right now on any person, it can't be they can't have already had a film based on them. Who would you make a movie on, and who would you have portray them?
Oh, dang.
It could be real life, it could be fictional, but it cannot have already been done.
Oh, that's hard.
Can I have like a minute to think?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, well,
Oh, damn.
we'll just
It can be anyone you want,
Oh, shoot.
and any actor, as long as it has not happened already.
That's hard. Dang.
Okay, how about I make it easier? If
No,
you had
it's
to make
okay.
a biopic on a musician that has not been done before, who would you pick?
Oh.
Frank
Wait.
Zappa.
Does it have to be a musician, or can we do?
well, I guess it could be like anyone in the music.
I'll probably
Anyone?
Anybody who made a documentary on Frank Zappa at all?
I don't
Or
think so.
biopic?
As long as it's a biopic on any famous person that has been done before.
Okay.
He's Frank Zappa.
And who would you have to play Frank Zappa?
Well, like just stick. Let's just stick. Who? If you would have to think a biopic of anyone that hasn't been done already, who would that be?
Joaquin Phoenix would play Frank Zappa.
Okay, yeah, you can have Joaquin Phoenix.
Dang.
I need to plug my computer in real quick.
We're gonna give you like say a few more seconds, Tristan. Come up with an answer.
I've got who I want to do it on. I'm just trying to figure out who I want to play them.
Oh, you don't have to worry about
You don't have
that.
to worry about playing. Just say
Oh, Albert Einstein.
okay.
I'll think of someone to play him.
All right.
Should I start?
Yeah, Miles, you said it first, so.
I said Frank Zappa because Frank Zappa was one of the most interesting musicians of the 80s and 70s. He was just like such a weird guy, and his mind was so warped and crazy. It would be really fascinating to see Joaquin Phoenix play him and just delve into the mindset that Frank Zappa was, and it'd just be really fascinating. Frank Zappa was so odd that he named his kids Moon Unit and Dweezil. Yeah, those are his actual kids' names. Like, it would be crazy to see a documentary or biopic that would go into the mindset of what he was, or what drugs he was on, or what he was just going through when he was a musician, and his epic journey, I guess, sort of like a Boogie Nights sort of parable that would apprehend his musical appetite.
Okay. You have Tristan for Einstein.
Okay, so Albert Einstein is one of the most important figures ever. He was arguably the smartest person to ever live. And we already got a biopic on Stephen Hawking, who is a lot more recent. But while we got like a mini series about, or a TV show about Albert Einstein, we never got an official movie about his life. And I feel like we definitely should. Frank Zappa, yeah, he's a great musician, but he has a very niche audience. And while it would be cool to see a biopic on him, I don't think people are asking for a Frank Zappa movie as much as they are for an Albert Einstein, one of the most important figures ever. The fact that, there hasn't been a movie made about him is crazy because he's so interesting, he's so unique, and it could be a film, they could blend humor in there, but it could be incredibly smart. It would probably be a huge Oscar movie as well. Pardon?
Are you cutting out for something?
Oh, was it cutting out?
No.
Okay then, I'm just gonna... Hold on, let me reset this thing. Sorry about that. Tristan, you kind of cut off a little bit, so...
Oh, should I go again?
Just continue what you were saying.
Oh, okay. Well, Albert Einstein is just one of the most important figures ever. And while Frank Zappa, he's a great musician, he has more of a cult audience. And I don't think people are really looking for a Frank Zappa movie as they are for Albert Einstein, who is one of the most famous people ever. He just has this very iconic image, this very iconic personality that would be great for a movie. It would lend itself well. He had an interesting life. You could really explore into how antisocial he was, but how smart he was. It could have some great messages, and it would probably be a huge Oscar contender.
Or Oscar bait film like the Darkest Hour.
Yeah,
but
but
yes, that was exactly what I'm gonna say. You could easily with an Albert Einstein movie as big of a character that he is, you could easily put him into the category of The Theory of Everything, which is a huge Oscar baity movie. I'm sorry,
it's a great movie, boy.
Good.
Yeah.
And The Darkest Hour, and also with Frank Zappa, if you made a really cool psychological mind study of Frank Zappa, he's not a cult. He doesn't appeal to the cult audiences. He's a mainstream musician. He's very famous. He's very well known. His mind is warped and crazy, maybe even as much as interesting as Albert Einstein. But I feel like if you were to make an Albert Einstein movie, it would fall into that Darkest Hour niche and cliche of Gary Oldman or whatever stupid. What's his name? Eddie Redmayne playing. Like, come on now. This could be an Oscar contender, but would it really be as cool as a Frank Zappa movie with Joaquin Phoenix?
Inherent Vice style,
psychological mind study. Like, come on. Like, that would appeal so much more than a Oscar baity, whatever, Albert Einstein biopic.
I think PDA should direct that film, honestly.
But here's the thing. Frank Zappa doesn't have an important story to tell, while Albert Einstein...
We already did rebuttals, right?
No, I didn't do mine
No,
yet.
Tristan hasn't done his.
Your first statement felt like a rebuttal, though.
No, I just did my first statement. I didn't do a rebuttal yet.
Yeah, it wasn't much of a rebuttal. It was just his opening statement.
It was
Yeah,
just...
You commented on Frank Zappa.
Yeah, let's continue.
No, it's because Haydn... I cut out for Haydn, so you had to hear me again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, with Albert Einstein, Frank Zappa doesn't have an important story to tell. Well, Albert Einstein does
have an important story.
Yeah, but Albert Einstein is one of the most important figures ever, and he really changed the game for science. And the thing is, you could say it could fall into that Oscar baity category, but with
it will. That's a definite fact.
Yeah,
I can see that.
It wouldn't, though, because a figure like Albert Einstein, if you look at him, he's a lot more interesting than a lot of these other figures that they do the Oscar baity biopics on. He's got a very weird, quirky image, and if you know anything about him, he actually went out of the house without pants, and he had a very weird relationship with his wife, and he was just a very weird dude. So what they could do is kind of fuse humor into it. It could be a science film, and it would be really, really interesting. It wouldn't be like The Theory of Everything, because it would be more of a
Darkest Hour.
character.
Or it would be like Theory of Everything or Darkest Hour, or Stephen Hawking trying to be quirky as hell.
Yeah, but you could say the same thing about Frank Zappa, who doesn't even have an important story to tell. Well,
he does. That is wrong. Like at least I'm not saying like
Okay. I
that
haven't.
is just morally wrong.
Hold on, I've heard enough from both of you. I think I kind of figure who I'm going to win, but I'm going to let Josh say who do you think if you were listening to it. Josh, who do you think won? Josh?
I think he fell asleep.
Oh no, sorry about that. I was on mute.
Oh, okay. Well, who do you think won that round?
I think it's the Tristan solely because I'm sorry to say some Miles. I have no idea who the fuck he's talking about.
Wow. Boy.
He's like a rock comedy musician.
He's a musician, obviously. I'm
For
from
what though? Without looking him up. For what?
He's from like the 70s. He does some like comedy type like rock stuff.
He's from the 80s.
Oh, rip.
Yeah, that's
But
I go with Tristan because I haven't actually learned a lot about Albert Einstein.
actually, I mean the way he presented the Albert Einstein film. I mean, I would definitely like to see both films for sure. But I think Einstein would definitely be a more influential like film because we haven't seen an Albert Einstein movie because we many historical figures, but not much about Einstein. So, I'm giving the point to Tristan on this one.
What if PTA decided to create the Frank Zappa?
I mean, I would definitely go see it, but again, who made the better argument was Tristan.
Yeah, but what if PTA decided to make the Einstein movie?
Oh my god, that'll make it even better.
That'd be so good.
Like it'll be more like There Will Be Blood, Phantom Thread, sort of with master-like feel to it.
Yeah.
With Timothy Chalamet as
Albert Einstein?
Albert Einstein?
No, I'd cast Jeremy Irons. I was thinking about it, and I think he would be good.
Jeremy Irons.
Maybe Jeffrey Rush, but he already played him in the TV show thing.
Okay, so Josh, you have another question for them?
God, why are the freshmen grades so fucking hot? Never mind. Sorry.
So it's 4-4 for Miles and Tristan.
Okay.
Josh, you have another question?
No,
Okay, I'll just.
I'm just tired.
Wait, how many more questions do we have?
There's 2 more questions coming in through.
Okay,
So
cool.
I haven't wrote down much, but okay. Let me think. If you had to remake a film from, like, say, like a bad film in general, and make it good, what film would that be?
Downsizing.
Dune. Actually, no. Wait, never mind. So can I change my answer?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Let me see.
Give me a minute.
Okay.
Wow, you were automatic on that downsizing bullshit. I mean, shit. Not bullshit. Damn, this is hard. I don't have this thinking capacity right now.
Okay.
Shit. Fuck.
I'm gonna just give you an answer. I'm gonna go with Justice League for you.
No, I don't want that. Come on.
No, do not remake Justice League.
Yeah, no. Why would I ever say that?
Or just reboot the DCU in general. I don't know.
No. Hayden, that's not what I wanted to do.
Okay. Well, then pick your answer because we have to.
I'm gonna pick. Oliver.
Ooh, I'm seeing that from my little brother's play.
Wait, Oliver? Like, which one?
Wait, never mind. Wait.
Bright? You said Bright.
No. Bright.
No, because Oliver's pretty good if you're talking about the Best Picture winner one.
That's not that great.
It's okay, though. Oh no, my friend just asked if I watched The Greatest Showman, and she's saying she really liked it. Rip.
Oh, tell her to go to hell. Okay, I'm gonna say Mute.
Oh, Mute. No. Okay, so Tristan said downsizing first, so
Oh, I can go first?
yes.
Okay, so Downsizing is a film with an incredibly unique concept and one that could have created a masterpiece. You have, these people in a semi-futuristic society who shrink themselves, and it could have been a very interesting commentary on today while implanting these like science fiction ideas. But unfortunately, Alexander Payne, while he's one of my personal favorite directors, he can't do sci-fi. He does these very narrative-based dramas slash comedies, and Downsizing was an absolute mess. It missed on almost every level, and it dropped the plot completely and became this really jumbled film that didn't work on any level. But if you got someone like, I don't know, maybe Alex Garland or
David Lynch.
I don't know, someone maybe who would fuse a little bit of comedy into it as well. But maybe even Denis Villeneuve. But if you got someone who has a great grasp of science fiction ideas, but also a great grasp of like narrative type, like more human films, I feel like we would get one of the best sci-fi films of the decade, and we would have got something incredibly unique and different and very effective. And unfortunately, what we got was plain crap.
Okay, that was a good argument. Miles, go for Mute.
All right, Mute. Downsizing had its merits. It had its supporting actress from Hong Chow. It had its ambitious plot. It had its set design. It had its cool stuff to it, right? But Mute was just all around terrible. Like the whole movie was just a dumpster fire. Like it was crazy. Like I don't know what Duncan Jones's deal was with that movie or what he was trying to achieve or gain, but it was clear that Downsizing had an objective and it was trying to reach its objective, and it became just this jumbled mess. And at least Alexander Payne is still withholding his stance, but with Mute, Duncan Jones has just fallen into just this complete pit. He can't really like get out of it now. Alexander Payne, after Downsizing, he could potentially make another masterpiece, but with Duncan Jones, he's just been slowly moving down and down and down, and then there couldn't possibly be a way to pick himself back up from Mute. And I think a remake of Mute, because Mute is a very interesting idea, very interesting concept, sci-fi film. I think if you make it more surreal, more cerebral, and just better overall, then it would make a much more ambitious sci-fi film along the lines of Annihilation. Maybe, I'm not sure, but it has a great idea and it has a cool way of telling its story, but it's just not. It's just a terrible, terrible movie. Whereas Downsizing is like it's a competent movie. Like if it wasn't competent, then it wouldn't have gotten that Golden Globe nomination from.
All right, so quick rebuttal for Tristan.
All right, so while Mute definitely does have some interesting ideas, it stems heavily off. It's heavily influenced by Blade Runner, while Downsizing is a completely original idea. It's something we've never seen before, and Alexander Payne, while he's a great idea, he was not the right fit. If we got someone who can grasp both, human elements and sci-fi elements to bring this together, we could get something incredibly smart. While Mute, I think we'd get, another great Blade Runner knockoff, but we wouldn't get something as unique as Downsizing.
Okay, rebuttal for Miles.
All right. I think Downsizing was a unique creation in its own. I think it wasn't as terrible as many people say it would be. Now, it's not a great movie, but but it's still not as bad as you're making it. It's not as terrible like as you're making it out to be. And it had its merits, but Mute, on the other hand, is just an all-around dumpster fire, and it could be very thought-provoking, and even more thought-provoking than the likes of Downsizing is. Even though Downsizing does have a very ambitious plot, but this plot could be another source code. It could be another Moon. It could be another Blade Runner 2049 if done correctly and in the right hands.
All right, that's a good argument for both. Josh, who do you think won that round?
I don't really know who won that round. I'm kind of split because Mute I personally liked. I didn't think it was complete shit. But I haven't seen Downsizing, but from what I've heard, it adds so much potential. So I'm gonna go as anonymous on this one.
I think I have seen Mute, which I was not a fan of, but I think Tristan's made a good argument that, downsizing could, even though Miles, you did say that downsizing did have some unique ideas at its own, but I think
that supporting actress nomination from Hong Chow.
She was so bad. She was the worst part in my opinion.
But I think Tristan definitely brought.
I liked Hong Chow.
I think Tristan definitely brought a lot more of his argument that he can definitely bring more of a sci-fi influencing than me, with Mute just being like a really good, like almost like Blade Runner 2049 knockoff or a Mute or Moon or something. So I'm gonna give Tristan that point for that one. So it's now 5-4. So here we are on the final question for the speed round, and that will determine the overall winner. What? Hold on. I'm thinking. Josh, do you have any points?
No.
Okay.
Josh.
Dude, I was literally about to fall asleep, and then Hayden woke me up and said, "Josh,
Do you want to just end this and say that Tristan is the winner?"
Yeah, it's a little past 1 o'clock right now. So for now, Tristan is the overall winner for this
cool
week.
Good job, Tristan.
We're done post. I think I'm not sure what is your record overall.
It's actually this is my first win. I lost 5 times. I've never made it.
Nice.
Yeah, I've never made it to the speed round before.
Well done. The host has finally won. All right, so I guess.
Hey, can I do one thing?
Sure.
Yeah.
Josh, you can leave.
No, wait, hold on. I'm gonna.
Go to bed, Josh.
Hold on. I'm gonna get you guys all plug in your information where you can find your social media pages right here. Just do that real quick. So Miles, you start.
Oh, I'm at Dinuum on Instagram. DINEWM on Instagram.
Okay. Anywhere else, like Letterboxd or anything?
Oh yeah, I'm Existential Cinema on Letterboxd.
Okay. Josh, anything to plug in?
At the Movie Maniac _ between each word, and my letterbox would be my Instagram bio.
That was so cringy.
Tristan, anything to plug in?
Yeah, you can check me out at Movie Reviews 100 on Instagram and Letterboxd, and yeah, that's it.
I'm your host, Haydn Elmore. You can definitely follow me on Hayden Likes Movies on Instagram and Haydn Elmore on Letterboxd.
Like and subscribe for more content like this.
Yeah, definitely. I think we'll put it on Movies Music Mania, which is the YouTube page that will be most likely be uploaded. So once again, thank you for Tristan for allowing me to host this week's movie duels or film duels. And I think we'll definitely have a few more coming up. I think including a big MCU related film before Infinity War comes out. Probably there'll definitely be one for sure.